Okay, so we'll just go straight into it then. We've got the RR Foundation function coming up, where we're going to have three incredible paintings. And what I'm going to do is put them on the screen, and we'll go into a little bit of a history of exactly how it. This one I found very, very interesting. So maybe you just want to fill us in exactly who the ladies are and the thinking behind Brave Women and what they stood for.
Okay, the first lady, okay, this, as I said, I've been a political cartoonist for 40 years. And I've seen stupid men, mediocre men rule the world and destroy it. Yeah. From climate change to corruption to wars, everything. And I don't think the world has seen the power of women. I know there are stupid women around as well. I mean, like Lindy Susulu and Butterbila and people like that. But there are a lot more women who don't have the kind of ego that men have that destroys the world. Like this, like those guys. Okay, Ellen Soobben, during apartheid, she was a lone voice in parliament, and she had to put up with all those guys from the National Party who actually picked on her because she was this little Jewish woman who was standing up against them. I did say a lot about it when I wrote about this painting. I forget some of it, but she was the face for everyone in South Africa fighting against a system, a so-called evil system. I could move to the next one because there's so much to say about that.
Yes.
Thuli Madonsela. Thuli Madonsela was actually picked by Jacob Zuma as public protector. And she actually went against him and spoke the truth. There's also so much that I could say about Thuli Madonsela. But I actually can't find the word right now. And then there's the other one is Craig's governor. Craig was in the Thabo Mbeki's cabinet. And all the problems that we're having now with lights, electricity. So Craig actually walked out of Thabo Mbeki's cabinet because he had used the money that was meant to build power plants, used it for the arms deal. And then I was actually trying to do a cartoon on the arms deal and to draw comparisons with what we're going through today. And because during the arms deal, we were supposed to buy 3 nuclear submarines. Each submarine can actually light up a whole city because when the uranium splits, it turns the turbine, it actually produces steam that can turn the turbines off to give us power. And if we have one nuclear submarine in Durban, one in Port Elizabeth and one in Cape Town, we can have power in this main city. And that will ease the burden in the rest of the country. We can have power for everyone. But then when I wrote that blog about it wasn't a cartoon, it was a blog about the nuclear submarine. Because the idea came about because Thabo Mbeki had taken the money that was meant for Eskom and used it for the arms deal. And then I realized that the nuclear submarines were not delivered. The money was just an exchange of money, and where lots of people got rich. That was the arms deal, by the way. And the reason I drew Craig actually got out in Parliament and walked out on Thabo Mbeki. She asked him to stick his job. And she was the only one who actually stood up against what Thabo Mbeki was doing. And by the way, she was married to the Jane Naidu, who was also involved in the arms deal. And then, that's a true.
Ironic, yes.
And then the other one is Fatima Mir. Fatima Mir was a real activist. And Nelson Mandela actually stayed in her house during the treason trial and stuff like that. There's a lot to say about Fatima Mir. She actually, she did a speech at my book launch a week before she passed away. She was supposed to speak, and then she wasn't going to make it, and someone else stood in for her. But while the book launch was taking place, she actually arrived in a wheelchair, pushed by a nurse. And she said she had to do this book launch. And there's a picture of her. There's a picture of her standing with me. And she did a small speech. And she actually passed away a week later.
Sure.
And the other one, the one on the left bottom, is the Diokaran, Babita Diokaran. She was the whistleblower. I presented this painting to her family, and there was a lot of tears. And that, up till today, they know who was behind it, and no one's been arrested.
That was very recently.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Just a few months ago.
Yeah.
She was shot a few months ago during the lockdown, when money meant for fight the virus was stolen.
Yeah.
And everyone knows who did it. And she actually spoke out, and she was shot.
Yeah.
And no one's been arrested. And the guy who was responsible for it could have become our next president.
Very scary.
Yeah. And then the other one is Cheryl Roberts. Cheryl Roberts was part of Sackhorse, and when she was a teenager, she was an amazing tennis player. If she went to the Olympic Games when she was a teenager, she could have won the gold medal. But when we became a free South Africa, they put her in the Olympic Games, which was unfair because she was past the best. And then people saw her as being a token and stuff like that.
Yeah. Very
So
sad.
it was not unfair on her. But she was a big fighter for women's rights and for women's sport and for sport in general. And she was also a freedom fighter, and she came from Wentworth. Not many people who fought for freedom came from Wentworth and were recognized. And the other woman in the second from last is, she lived in Sweden. And her mother was Zulu, and her father was a Scottish soldier. And her grandfather was a Scottish soldier, and her mother was, her father was a Scottish soldier, and her mother was a Zulu from Cape Verde. And she actually was an activist. She went and lived in exile in Sweden, and she had the ANC while in exile, and she was killed in exile. And I'm actually part of the team working to do an animated movie on her life with her daughter. That's why I said grandfather and grandmother, because I'm mixing her with her daughter. And then the last one, Nicole van Driel. Now, everyone knows about the Soweto uprising in 1976, but nobody speaks about a bigger uprising that took place in Cape Town, where lots of kids were killed on the Cape Flat. The soldiers were in those armored cars and shooting live ammunition again to the colored kids. And she was one of those people in the forefront of it. And she was arrested, and she spent time at Polsmore. You see the bottom of the picture where the Table Mountain was shaped like a present when she was released. And she became Thabo Mbeki's speechwriter. When she became Thabo Mbeki's speechwriter, she actually stood up against him and spoke out against him, just like what Freg's did. And she was against his AIDS campaign, whatever he said about AIDS. He said HIV does not cause AIDS and stuff like that. But he was reading a lot of stuff in the middle of the night, letting it out the next day as facts. So she actually spoke out against him. And so I'm paying tribute to these women. There are more women, but I can only fit in 8.
Yeah.
This
they're
was
amazing.
This was part of my calendar, but I tried to do a limited edition set of prints.
Okay.
One of these prints, the first one, sold at a woman's gala dinner for 25,000.
Okay.
And then Yeah. But I want the story to be told beyond the 2023 calendar. So what happens when the calendar is finished, people put it away or tear it down, and these women are forgotten. So it's important for these films to be sold, and so people can tell the story.
Yeah. They're important stories to tell, and they're not stories that we want forgotten in history. They're stories that need to be told, and because they're women, they often are pushed aside, and they're not told and not told to our children. So it's very important.
I actually used the wrong word because in the calendar I said woman who stood up to stupid men, but when I wrote about it, I used strong language about the balls and everything, the comparison and the ego and stuff like that. So
it's interesting. In the context, the whole Aura Foundation dinner has quite a strong emphasis on storytelling. So it's important. It's quite nice to carry that theme through the evening of storytelling, of success, of people, of people who really manage to stand up for what they believe and make a difference. So that's very significant. Yeah.
Well, I can give it to the auctioneer if you can get some inkling of the story.
Yeah.
And also what I'd like you to do in the top there, you got those the ladies on the top there in black and white. They were also relevant. So what is the story behind them?
I've followed about those are the women who marched in the 1956 Women's March in Pretoria. That's when the apartheid was so strong and powerful, and these women took a big chunk. They walked against the Dompas. The Ellen Joseph and other women there. I can name them. I just forget the names of them. But they are very important. They were the first women to march.
Okay.
I painted them in the mural as well, in the peace mural.
So I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to do the Mandela one, which is, it speaks for itself, but it's a lovely piece.
I actually improved on it. I added another part of it into it, which I did not do.
Yes,
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, because you said you were going to add a black and white.
Yes, I tried to break up the monotony of a painting.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to look like a flat painting.
All right, let's just have a look at it, and we'll look at it afterwards once you've done that. Let me go into it quickly. And this is the one. So what is the thinking here?
There was not much thinking. The top picture I have painted on the mural. I painted a peace mural in chapter between the Indian township and the black township, where the fighting during the insurrection was quite serious. And I painted this peace mural there. I painted Bishop Tutu, Makachada, Fatima Mir, Nelson Mandela, Imtiaz Suleiman, and Kiram Shloka was one of the guest speakers on that mural. And I said, we fought for that peace, don't destroy it.
Okay.
And this was part of that picture. But in that little gap on the right, I did a sketch of Mandela when he was a younger person. I did that in black and white. Because I had done a painting of Robert Kennedy Jr. And I painted Robert Kennedy Jr. with paints. And then I did a painting of his dad in the black and white just to show the difference between the time and the space. So I did that with this. I added it and you see it looks quite good.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. So this is quite a recent piece that you've done in 2022. So it's very recent. Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing the completed one with that added to it.
I'll send it to you.
Brilliant. Okay, and I'm going to share the last one. And obviously this is the controversial one. I don't think it's so controversial. I just love it.
But not in comparison to what I've done.
Yes, yeah. But look at that. This is
Shakespeare. Yeah.
All right, Shakespeare says it all. Go for it. Tell us your thinking here.
There wasn't much thinking. It's when you look at a sonar, any drunk guy in the park can come up with ideas for a cartoon because there's so much happening. So this idea just came because there was shake and then there was the spear, because Zuma was known as a spear for some reason or another. Because I had also done a cartoon with lots of children's bottles of milk standing in front of him, and I called it the father of the nation. So that's why it's called a spear.
Yeah. So just for the people who don't know the politics around what happened around the time of this, maybe you can fill us in the political thinking and how this came. I know it, but other people don't.
Yeah, sure. A lot of people made a lot of money during the arms deal. Zuma did not make a lot of money, but he knew what was happening. But he was out of it because he wasn't so clever in that sense. Because the other guys were like really working on how they can really skim the system. So when Zuma became president, he tried to take it all very openly, and he wasn't playing chess. Zuma was playing drafts. So whatever he was doing was done so openly. You know, whether he stole from ESCOM, whether he stole from South African Airways, whether he stole from Sound, it was openly done because he was trying to get revenge for what he didn't get during the arms deal. During the arms deal, a guy like Shabir Sheikh made a lot of money and gave Zuma like tips, like how you give a car card, like sending his children to a private school, paying for his wife's paying his wife's rent and stuff like that. That's how Shabir Sheikh and Zuma operated. Shabir Sheikh made a lot of money out of the arms deal and gave Zuma little tips. And when Zuma getting those tips, but when he became president, he really thought, this is my chance. And he went big with state captain, which was bigger than the arms deal, really. And the Shakespeare name just came about because of Shabir Sheikh. So I painted him like Shakespeare, and I kept his shoes on.
I just love that because, I mean, you're right. All around that, he got all the tidbits, but he learns a lot for later on in life, eh?
Yeah, but I got Shabir Sheikh in the background, trying not to show too much of himself.
Hiding in the curtain.
The thing about Shabir Sheikh, I know a lot of stories because if I went to a certain doctor or a dentist who was also Shabir Sheikh's dentist or a doctor, they would tell me the same story because Shabir Sheikh used to brag about what he did and how he manipulated Zuma and stuff like that. So recently I was going to a function in Amschlanger, and I walked past the Zuma restaurant. As I was walking past, I saw Shabir Sheikh. So he greeted me, so I went in and he started taking pictures with me and stuff like that. He was still in the Zuma, but you will not know that if you read the newspaper. You wonder where Shabir Sheikh is, but he's still around. He was in that Zuma restaurant. And he took a picture with me and he said, let's get that Zuma name in the picture.
So he's still got a sense of humor, man. Yeah. Well, I think we've got 3 wonderful pieces there. Gal, can you think of anything else?
No, I think that's wonderful. That's really great.
And Nanda, we got a bit of history from you. Do you want a bit of history on Nanda and where he comes from and anything like that for this, Gal?
We do have some. I have some background, so all is good.
Okay.
Well, the true, or maybe you see sometimes, cartoonists don't lie. You just exaggerate the truth.
There's lots of material to do that with.
Okay. I was an anti-apartheid cartoonist. Then I became an anti-ANC cartoonist. And all I did was pick on corruption. And then I had an art school. They shut my school down because I did a cartoon where I showed the Guptas putting a finger up Zuma's butt. And then Zuma giving us 2 fingers. That caused a lot of problems. It was on the front page of the City Press. And then I had Zuma hanging from the ledge of an I building. And it said Zuma must fall. And then he was hanging onto it. And then there were lots of other cartoons where there was one during his rape trial where he had his pants down and he was saying, not guilty. And then my school was shut down 5 years ago while we were working on an animated movie. It was the Mandela Folktales. While we were working on that movie, they were trying to shut my school down. They stole all my computers with the work of the Mandela animation in it. Then we had to buy it back. It was put on auction. I had to buy it back, and we went to court 3 times, and the education department said they will reaccredit my school, and they didn't. Someone was pulling the strings. They said I didn't do this and I didn't do that. I didn't follow the rules. And it went on for 5 years. And with those animations that we did, we won 4 the best animated movies. And 1 in Chicago. This was all last year for the Mandela Folktales animation. We had 30 to do. We did 5. We have 25 more to go. We won in Manchester, best animated movie. We won in Calcutta, the best animated movie, and in Istanbul. I won the best creative director. So I told some activists in KZN, you know what? When the producer went to the Cannes Film Festival, she told them what was happening. How are we going to work on the rest of the animated movies when they shut the school down? I need to create more animators. And we have a huge unemployment rate in KZN. And animation brings them dollars. This is for the youth of KZN. They could do any money in dollars in shutting down the school. Now Linda Sama, one of the activists, she was an ANC member, the UDF member. She also went to the DJ and to Blade in Command. There was another activist who lived in London, came down, and he said he's going to go and speak to Blade in Command, because when Blade was in London, he used to go speak to him. So when they went to speak to him, Blade said, Nanda Soobben is his own worst enemy. He bites the hand that feeds it, because, and you know what, they never fed me. Because I was not white and I was not black, being an artist in this country. They never really feed me. Then he said, I disrespected the ANC. And Blade, sitting in Cyril's cabinet at the moment, he told his activists. He also insulted an elderly Zulu man. By adding Zulu there, he turned that into a tribal issue and into a very dangerous situation by actually mentioning, knowing what KZN is all about. And because it's the first time they actually mentioned it being political. They used to always say that I did not do this, I didn't follow regulation. If I don't follow regulation, you can ask me to fix it. You don't shut my school down. Yeah. It's an important school. It was the first school that integrated fine art with graphic design and animation. So they haven't really put me down.
Imagine that must be really disappointing, because that was in order to achieve your goals, and it must have been very difficult. Do you have a goal going forward? What would you like to see?
Well, I'd like to reopen school, but I'm still battling to do it. I'm waiting for if Blade is going to be in the cabinet. I want to have a direct meeting with Ramaphosa if I can get the conduit to do it for me. Well, I'm just going to see. The thing is, the school is not important to me as an artist. I don't need a school. I'm a cartoonist and an animator and a painter. But the school is far more important than I will ever be because of what it's done. I trained the first black political cartoonist in this country. I used to be a black political cartoonist. And then apparently I wasn't black anymore. And I was Chief Biko Black. I trained Yellow at the Sowetan, Wilson Gabodi at Independent, Captain Gadi at Zoliza, and Nati at the Citizen. And then I was accused of training clever blacks. So So that is the real story.
So it's,
No exaggeration.
What's always interested me, where did you get the doctor title from?
Yeah, I don't know why people call me doctor, because it takes away from my brand. my name is now my brand. And when they call me doctor, it takes the brand away. It misleads the brand. I'm more proud to be called an artist than to be called a doctor, but I'm honored to be given that title. I was the first person to get a doctorate from the University of TUT.
great.
So I'm honored to have got it.
That's a great accolade.
I received an Amnesty International award as well from Nancy Pelosi. I did some George Bush cartoons during the Gulf War, and Bush called American cartoonists unpatriotic. So the syndicate was using my cartoons, and George Bush. And then I did a cartoon with Zapiro and myself at the World Economical Forum. We were drawing cartoons live. I drew George Bush, and I said, during the Gulf War, I put a sign on top, like a not wanted sign. And I said, not wanted, brain dead or alive. And the American delegate actually bought this cartoon. But I did a lot of Trump cartoons recently. And my Trump cartoons are now being merchandised in New York. It's on my website at the moment. It's on my Facebook site, you can see it. It's on eBay at the moment.
What would you say the highlight of your career has been?
My highlights of the career, I used to be a football player. Scoring a goal would be the highlight. Everything else is basically part of life. Doing a cartoon was not about me doing a cartoon. I was just trying to complain about the situation that we are having. I had the ability to do that by drawing a cartoon. Yeah.
A unique ability, yeah. Not everybody can take a situation and turn it into something and make it special. So you definitely have that flair, and I really like your use of color as well.
But sometimes, you have to beat this. Like there are lots of jokes about sonar yesterday, and if I had to draw a cartoon, I will lose it. Because some guys already told a joke. I'm wasting time by drawing it. So what I do is sometimes I write it.
Okay.
I just write something and I put it up there.
Yeah.
I just congratulated Cyril for making the best speech ever. He even outdid Zuma when Zuma promised us 1 million jobs by December. So he did it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. So basically, that's what Cyril did. He was making those kind of promises that Zuma was making. I don't know if you remember, Zuma promised us 1 million jobs, but they were actually job opportunities, but not real jobs. So I actually write things if I don't have the time to draw. And it's like I told these guys last week at the meeting. About ESCOM, I said, we sold the sun to buy a candle.
Yeah.
That's a one-liner. I don't even need a drawing for them.
They don't.
No, it expresses everything in a few words. Yeah.
What was your one-liner for the Tottenham Hotspurs deal?
I said we were trying to sell the plumage, and we were forgetting the dying men.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think I can call you doctor and say, we're running out of time on this one because I've got to put this together. But I think we got a lovely interview here, and I got more out of it than I thought we were going to get. But I see the longer we go, the more I'm going to get.
Sure.
So, Gal, how are you doing your side?
I'm good.
We got a bit of sizzle there.
What motivated you to give your artworks to the RR Foundation for this event?
Actually, Rajan Reddy was a good friend of mine, and SA actually went to school with my wife.
Okay.
So I do know them, but I think Rajan did buy one of my paintings a long time ago.
Okay. Yeah.
So, recently, a lot of my paintings have been put on auction.
Okay.
heritable organization.
Yeah.
Okay, coming from the indentured Indian, I also had another one-liner. I don't know, maybe it might be a word more than a one-liner. I said, from cutting cane to cutting edge.
Yes. Going further.
Says it all.
So thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. And it went exactly as I thought it would. I loved it.